Hi, welcome to Brazil. This is where I'm staying at Vagal Futuro. It's a really beautiful place, as you can see, and I've been giving classes here yet today, and then tomorrow, and Sunday I'll do a little bit of a class too. So we have a little break, so I thought I would take a moment and talk about vagal tank theory, which is something new that I've been looking into lately. And vagal tank theory has to do with it has to do with vagal tone and cardiac tone, and so the cardiac vagal control, I guess you could say. And so how well does your vagus nerve work? How well do you reset to baseline after a stressor? So I've been reading about vagal tank theory for the past few days, and I thought I would share a little bit of video with you. I also wrote a blog about this on Wednesday, so I put it on my blog, so you can find out more if you look at my website. Okay, so breaking down the basics of vagal tank theory, the idea is that we have certain resources that protect us when we have stressors, and that can help us get back to baseline when those stressors come in. And those resources, typically we think about those resources in one of two ways. Either we think about those resources in terms of the autonomic nervous system, or we think about those resources in terms of our social networks and support, or our psychological resources. And that's what most of the literature has been about, is one of those two ways that we fill ourselves back up after a stressor. So we might fill ourselves back up by talking to people and social engagement and feeling better, or we might fill ourselves back up more autonomically, like in terms of the nervous system, the immune system, endocrine regulation, hormone regulation system. But what vagal tank theory does is takes into account all of those. Right? It takes into account the psychological resources, the social resources, as well as immune, hormonal, nervous system resources. So that's why I think it's kind of interesting. It's kind of an interesting theory, and it's a metaphor, obviously. If your tank gets drained too much, right? So you're constantly under a lot of stress. That's when it becomes difficult to refill. It becomes difficult to refill the tank, and it doesn't matter how much external resources you have. Internally, the nervous system is not resilient enough to be able to refill the tank. So the excessive stressors in our life can cause problems in terms of draining the tank completely and then being difficult to refill. And those excessive stressors in our life may also cause the tank to become leaky, too. That's another way to think about it, though, that the tank gets leaky. And as the tank is leaky, that's another reason we don't refill. We can't replenish our resources. So I'm going to post this article. I'll put it in the comments here. I'll put a link for it in the comments so you can read more about it if you're interested in reading the original research, which, by the way, it came from Germany, and the article was published in July. So I'm happy to post that in the resources, and you can read my blog that I wrote on Wednesday about it, too. In the meanwhile, I'm here at the Institute of the Future in Brazil, and the topic I've been presenting on is the neuroscience of embodiment. So it certainly has a lot to do with the vagus nerve, and also I'm talking a lot about interoception, and how developing greater interoception helps us to develop more embodiment. As we are better embodied, we have a better sense of ourselves and our identity, and as we have a clearer sense of our identity, we can make better decisions, and we have more resources, essentially. So this is all, similar topics, similar information. They're ringing the gong. I think it's time. Time to go back to class. It's all similar, it's all related information, and basically about my interest in yoga and mental health. I'll leave you with the gong. Okay, see you next week. Namaste.